What is up, everyone? It's Wacka. Welcome you to our draft recap of NPBA Season 11. This is my first time playing an NPBA, and Jode was kind enough to invite me in. He liked me enough to give me a spot before coach reveals, so it's just a matter of like, oh, what div am I going to get into? Because there was a problem with interacting with one person in particular.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
That Jode was kind enough to help me avoid, to, just give me a more relaxed season because I am a little bit busier, and like I don't really need the stress of like playing in their top div, because he wanted to put me in their top div originally, and I think if I allowed him to, I would have been put in the top div. If not, I would have been put in their second highest div. Their highest div being Kanto. It goes Kanto, Johto, Hoenn, Sinnoh, and Unova. They just added a Unova div, and actually Jeg got in. I'm very happy that Jeg got in. Probably because I wouldn't stop spamming Jeg in chat, of course. So, without further ado, I got into their Ore div, which is, I believe, like the region from like Pokemon Gale of Darkness or something, probably. I don't know which one. Pokemon Coliseum. I don't know. Who knows? So they actually did low tier, and it's not like the super ultra low tier. They pretty much just took like their Nat Dex tiers and like cut it in half and allowed like pretty much 9 and below. They had some higher tier picks too, but at this point some of those higher tier picks are like, oh, these mons like aren't really that good. So they were allowed. There was stuff like Rotom Heat allowed, Alomomola, But without further ado, I'm gonna stop yapping before our first pick. We picked up Terra Inteleon. My first pick originally was gonna be Terra Swellow, and Terra Swellow is a little bit faster, a little bit stronger with like Specs Boom Bursts and stuff like that. Unfortunately, Swellow went the pick before Inteleon, so I was like, okay, Inteleon was going to be my next pick. And there's a lot of other stuff on the board too. I could have grabbed Terra Diancie. You guys already know I love Terra Diancie. But there's a reason I passed up on Diancie, and we'll get into that a little bit later. There's also Terra like Enamorous Therian, Terra Florges, and I was like, those seem kind of disgusting, and like some of them require like setup. However, I had Ryan help me with this draft, and he said, because knowing him, he's pretty good with like knowing what low tiers do and stuff, but he told me that hyper offense is pretty much the way to go. Maybe not hyper offense, but just like clicking buttons is the way to go in low tier. So it's like, okay, yeah, Terra Inteleon, spoiler alert, no one drafted Gastrodon, no one drafted Seismitoad, no one drafted like Maractus, no one drafted Lapras.
Hooray for me!
The only thing I think Inteleon has to worry about is like Swellow being faster than it, and like, what else? Empoleon, because Empoleon is just that bulky. Empoleon was another thought that I had too, because I thought like Water Steel plus, Defog, Stealth Rock, Flip Turn, Roost, bulky Roost. You could do like Agility, Weakness Policy, Agility, competitive sets. But no, I grabbed Inteleon, and like, yeah, I have Inteleon SDS, but I do think Inteleon's a good mon. And I'm happy to use it in a low tier setting. Like, I think this thing's gonna pop off. It's gonna win me a lot of games, hopefully. Like, Inteleon's one of those low tiers that I believe in a lot. And I'm hoping to get others on my side with believing in Inteleon. So our next pick is Pheasantipity. Currently it's my profile picture on Discord, so of course I was gonna pick up the Pheasantskibidi. Really good mon in low tier with the lack of steel types. I'm sure most teams got a steel type anyways, but most of the steel types, like, they're high priced because they're steel type. People don't really want a lot of the steel types like Fortress, Paparaja, and like eventually a lot of teams are end up struggling with Fezandipity, and I think Fez has a really good stat spread in low tier. It even has like good enough offensive stats and a good enough offensive move pool to like make that work. So I think Fez is a good pick. It's also pretty fast for low tier too. 99 speed is really nice. Really fat, bulky. Poison Fairy is just a good defensive typing. Doesn't really cover Inteleon that well. It covers grass, I guess, and like a lot of electric types are special attackers, I guess. You kind of cover that. But just like getting the chip damage for Inteleon, I think is really nice, and that's what I wanted Fez for. So earlier I think I mentioned like they allowed stuff like Rotom Heat, and Ryan really wanted me to get Rotom Heat. However, Mandibuzz was on the board, and I think Rotom Heat already got picked at that point. And I was like, you know what? I need a defogger. It's really fat and very reliable at what it does. Super good defogger, honestly. So I don't have to worry about hazards that much. It's another pivot, but it could also do cool stuff like Nasty Plot Weak Armor, or Weakness Policy. It's pretty fast too, and like, you know, it does some good stuff. It gets knockoff too, which is what I wanted, and it's one of the it's not Paldea decks anyways, but it's like one of the few mons in Paldea that still gets Toxic. And like they gave it Toxic for a reason. Like it's still a mon that likes to run stuff like Toxic and chip stuff down again. And plus it's another bird, and I thought that was pretty cool. I had like a bird theme team going on. And speaking of birds, maybe this is not a bird. I thought I had a different mon here first. Well, Duraludon's a bird now. So we picked up Duraludon. It was 9 points, and you know, like a Violet Duraludon I thought was very reliable. Could I have terrored this? No, I couldn't have terrored this anyways. But it's a rocker. It gets like Meteor Beam, Steel Beam, Draco Meteor. So it gets really powerful moves off of base 120 special attack. With the Violet 115 defense gets boosted even further. 50 special defense isn't like amazing, but it's good enough with Violet and Dragon Steel typing being a good defensive typing, only being weak to ground and fighting, which Fez and Mandibuzz already cover pretty well. As well as actually our next pick. Do I have anything else to say about Duraludon? It's my first T-Wave support mon, so that's pretty nice. I don't think Duraludon's like amazing, but I do think I like the mon. I like the mon in Gen 8. I liked it before our Chaladon existed. Maybe it's not like a cool design, but I think it's interesting to look at. And like sometimes I just like can't stop looking at it, so I figured I might as well get it. And I've always wanted to try Duraludon. I think last time I used Duraludon it was like a Gigantamax season of like some league from 4 years ago, so it's been quite a long time since I've used something like Duraludon, and I think it's nice. So speaking of covering ground and fighting, we have the Decidueye to cover Duraludon pretty well, and it's just that it gets defog, it gets U-turn, it gets knockoff, toxic. It's just a good, reliable mon. It has a good stat spread, especially for low tier, and it has a lot of options. Like I could run physical, I could run special, I can run banded, specs, scarf, long reach. I don't know if long reach is gonna matter that much, but in games where overgrow does nothing, I guess long reach is nice to avoid like rocky helmet chip, stuff like that. But like I actually didn't realize until I started talking in this video that like the Decidueye covers this team really well in terms of like covering ground and fighting. So I'm really excited to use Decidueye, honestly. I was considering getting Hisuian Decidueye, and it was really close to being on the team, but with some Grace transactions, which we'll get into at the end of our team, because most of our Grace transactions were just like fixing my last 3 picks. So yeah, there was that. Decidueye is cool, Mom. Excited to use it. I haven't used Decidueye in like 3 years. I didn't think it was great, but it was also like, I don't know. I was a different player back then, and I think Decidueye is a lot better now than I give it credit for. So next pick is Tauros. I love Tauros. This thing, it's so fast. It hits so hard with sheer force. It has base 40 special attack, but like, I've seen a lot of games where special Tauros just clicks buttons, especially when you're like, you know, gonna face against like a fortress, or okay, I can just flamethrower and kill that. I'm facing a Garchomp, I outspeed a kill with Ice Beam, or Blizzard if I'm feeling frisky. There's no Garchomp in low tier, but I mean, there's still mons that are like 4 times weak to things. I don't know. I just think Tauros is a really good mon. It's really fast, really reliable with damage. And we kind of needed like a physical breaker, whereas Decidueye is kind of like another kind of utility-ish like pivot mon. And a lot of my team so far is just a lot of pivots. Like Fez, Mandibuzz don't really hit that hard. Duraludon gets walled by steals a lot of time, which there aren't very many good steals, but then whatever. So yeah, we got Tauros. Our next mon is going to be Aurorus, and we're going to Terra Aurorus, and you guys have not seen Terra Aurorus on, well, you've seen Terra Aurorus on this channel, like, very recently, because Ryan's using it in SDS, but you haven't seen me use it since, like, very early this year, and, like, we're already in September, which is, like, this year is kind of flying by, not gonna lie. Aurorus is very good. It was 3 points. And there's no Terra attacks, so I pretty much just grabbed like a very expensive mon for practically free, and I wasn't gonna pass up on it, you know. And oftentimes, like I already said, Inteleon isn't facing a lot of there's not a lot of competition with Inteleon. There's no Gastrodon, no Seismitoad, unless someone picks it up in Grace. And I think someone is supposedly picking up Gastrodon in Grace, truth be told. But I have a Decidueye for that. And a Mandibuzz. And a Pheasantipity that wants to U-turn all over it. So... And Aurorus also can just freeze dry and kill it. So, like, Gastrodon got nothing on me. That mon sucks. And, yeah. Aurorus, very good mon. I think... people are going to prep for Inteleon and not realize that Aurorus is sitting on my team. I did pick it up round 7, so it's going to be high up there on like the prep dock. It's going to be like in the middle of the prep board, but I'm going to hope that people aren't prepping for Terra Aurorus, and even if they do, like Aurorus has a lot of sets that it can just break through a lot of things, and I'm really excited about that. So our next pick, we got Stunfisk. So this was the result of me getting sniped. I really wanted Claydol, because Claydol offered me a rapid spin, it offered me a levitator, because my team, I do have Decidueye, but I am pretty ground weak right now. I have 4 ground weaknesses, and at the time, well, I had 2 resist, and I think Mandibuzz and Decidueye are good. Stunfisk, it was 5 points, and you know, it gets Stealth Rock, it's pretty bulky. It doesn't really hit that hard, but it's pretty annoying to deal with, I feel. I really wish it got Volt Switch, though. But it's like one of those ground types, like, you can just slot Toxic on it, and, like, it'll chip stuff down, it'll live hits, static para things, maybe, if it wants to. It has no... its other 2 abilities are pretty useless on it. I don't know why they give it Limber. But yeah, regardless, Stunfisk is an alright mon, it's really fat. And I'm kind of realizing this team is just kind of fat, but I think I'm going to make it work. I like this team so far. So with our next pick, we actually picked up Emboar, but I dropped Emboar in Grace for Hitmonchan. I wanted an Assault Vest mon. Not that my team's not already bulky enough or like Assault Vesty enough, but it's like another Assault Vest mon I could run. It gets Rapid Spin, which is nice in case I want to set up my own rocks. I don't have a Spiker, and I got sniped from, I think, the mon that got spikes. Maybe. Or And I think it's because I got sniped from Claydol. Stunfisk was like the only other ground that fit. But like regardless, it's just a fighting type. Hitmonchan itself could easily run like Choice Scarf. It's likely strong enough, or you know, it could just Rapid Spin too. Iron Fist, Drain Punch, Fire Punch, Ice Punch, Thunder Punch, Punching Glove. I got swept by Hitmonchan in low tier one time with like a bulk up set, and it did a lot of work. So I mean, not a great mon, but it's also 6 points, and like I don't have to bring Hitmonchan, you know. So I thought it was fine, and it's a spinner, so I took what I could get. Our next pick though, oop, we didn't get rid of Hitmonchan. We drafted Delphox, and Delphox was just like, you know, I didn't have a fire type or a psychic type yet. Originally I had Rabsca, and like originally before Hitmonchan I had Emboar, so I kind of just swapped it for a higher tier special attacker, although truth be told I probably should have just went with the higher tier physical attacker because my team is not looking very physical. I do have Tauros, but all in all, Emboar was like the high tier, you know, I'm gonna click Flare Blitz or Head Smash, but like that's not really my playstyle. I don't really like taking recoil or missing Head Smash that much. So I picked up Delphox, and I haven't used Delphox in quite a long time. It's been probably 3 years, 3.5 years. And I think I like Delphox when I had it. It also gets Wish, and I think in low tier it's bulky enough to do some Wish support sets. It's also pretty fast. I considered making this a Terra Captain over Inteleon, and honestly I might still do that. We'll see, but I think Delphox is cool. I like Delphox a lot, and I think like overall, Delphox Hitmonchan was a little bit better than Rabsca plus Emboar. People don't really like Rabsca that much. I like Rabsca. It's just a little bit not bulky enough, and like its type is kind of bad. So yeah. So with our last pick, I originally picked up Seadra, but then I realized Prinplup was 1 point, and I was like, okay, free. This mon gets Defog, this mon gets Stealth Rock, this mon gets Flip Turn. The prep doc doesn't show it getting Flip Turn because I guess I didn't think anyone would draft Prinplup, so I just didn't put it as a Flip Turn bot, but it does. So it does the same thing as Empoleon, just without the Steel typing, and sometimes it's better. It is locked to a Violate, but I will say, like, that's not something to worry about, really. Low-key, this mon, like, it's bulkier than Quaxwell, I think, and Quaxwell used to be, like, a PU standard, so for 1 point, I think people should respect Prinplup, and competitive is still nice on it, too. So yeah, that is the team. I'm kind of realizing it's a little bit less hyper offensive than I wanted it to be. Like, it's not even hyper offensive at all. It's actually kind of fat. It doesn't really hit as hard, maybe, which is like one reason to maybe I might revert back to Emboar, not gonna lie. But I do like Delphox a lot, and I wanted to try Delphox. So yeah, I mean, either way, we get a Fire, Water, Grass starter core. Pretty cool. What else could I say about this team? Yeah, that's kind of it. We were a bit ground weak, but I'm not too worried about it. There wasn't a lot of good ground types in the format. So, yeah. And with that said, I will see you guys for week 1. And, yeah, thanks for watching.